Hey, what's good? I'm Isaac Lee, and we back with another review for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, episode 2. I was wondering what was going to happen with the Flag Smashers. See, I didn't mention them in the last review. These Flag Smashers, at first it seemed like there was only going to be one super soldier, but then we find out that the whole group is full of this, the whole group of super soldiers. They have the super soldier serum, and we also get answers as far as where they got it from. I was also curious about how Bucky and Sam were going to get together, and we come to find out that Bucky's watching TV. He sees this new Captain America with the shield, and he's thinking to himself, why did Sam give it up? And of course that's what causes him to confront him, and he's constantly asking, like, why did you give it up? Why did you do that? And then later on in the episode we see them having this little comedic therapy session where he just asks that question. He's like, why did you give it up? Because if Steve was wrong about you, then that means he was also wrong about me. And that goes even deeper because, you know, he gives that shield to Sam, but his long lost, but his friend from way back in the 1940s was Bucky. So he probably assumed that the shield would go to him. So he's clearly not agreeing with the fact that he gave up the shield. But I feel like the elephant in the room is the fact that race is involved. The fact that, you know, everyone loves Steve Rogers because he's a white guy. You know, they do all this superhero stuff, but the reality is that the world would not accept a black Captain America, which is probably why they talked him into giving up the shield, only so they can give it to US Agent, which, by the way, they haven't called him US Agent yet. And I'm still biased. I love Steve Rogers, and every time I see this guy in the suit with that shield, I'm just like, you're such an imposter. I don't like you. I'm like, there's even that whole action scene, and you see it in the trailer where they're on top of the trucks. They're fighting and they're having a rough time because, again, these Flag Smashers, they're all super soldiers. And then you see US Agent and Battlestar, they show up, and I'm curious about, okay, he's supposed to have the super soldier serum, but I'm curious, how does he fight? Because at one point he throws his shield so that Battlestar can have something to land on. Battlestar gets knocked off one of the trucks, and then he's on the he's down on the ground, and then it's time for him to like really get some hand-to-hand combat. So I'm curious, okay, if he has the serum, how good is his fighting skills? You know, because they did this whole little highlight package talking about, oh yeah, his skills are off the charts as far as strength and endurance and like yada yada yada. I'm like, yeah, of course it's gonna be off the charts once you give him the serum. I'm like, they left that part out. But anyway, getting back to that action scene, is a scene where it seems like, okay, let's see how well he fights. He gets taken out one hit, and I was like, of course, imposter. I'm like, one hit. So of course, you know, they're walking down the road. There's another part you see in the trailer where Falcon's making fun of, you know, how Bucky's brain works. He's like, the machine in his head is sparking and like misfiring and doing all that. So they end up having a conversation, you know, with US Agent and Battlestar, and they're in this Jeep, and he's talking about how, I'm not trying to replace Steve Rogers, I'm just trying to be the best Captain America I can be, and maybe we should join forces. And of course they're not for it, you know. And what really ruins it is when US Agent says, man, it would be great if I had Steve Rogers' wingman. And he was like, it's always that last line. So but I feel like without shoehorning it in, they definitely spoke about race a little bit. You know, it was a point where Bucky, he talks to Sam, and he's like, yeah, someone you gotta meet. And then they end up going to this neighborhood where they meet Isaiah Bradley, who at one point in time back in the day was also a Captain America, but he didn't get the same hero's welcome that Steve Rogers got. You know, he gave him the serum, he went to war, but instead they threw him in jail. And he talks about how they took his blood and they ran all these tests, and it's just sad to see how his story ended up like that. It was also interesting how they throw in the whole police scene. You know, Bucky and Sam are having a little argument. Police immediately show up, and they're coming to the defense of Bucky, like, oh, are you okay? Like really? And then the fact that Bucky had to, I guess in a way, use his white privilege to say, oh no, I'm fine, do you know who this guy is? And then one police officer points out another one saying, oh yeah, he's Falcon. You're like, oh, you're the Falcon? Oh, I didn't recognize you. I'm like, he shouldn't have to be famous for you to, I'm like, maybe they could have cut that part out, but at the same time, I can understand them leaving it in because it adds some realism to it. It's like, okay, they're not being so super fantastical with it, and I can understand them trying to add some realism to it. The fact that, you know, he's trying to adjust to civilian life while also doing these missions. I'm really interested to see what they're gonna do with Zemo. How does Zemo play a role into this? Is he like a benefactor, beneficiary, whatever, how would you put that? How does he play in with this? Does he have anything to do with the Flag Smashers? Is there another villain coming in? Is it someone else other than just Zemo? So, oh yeah, US agent, you know, they had one last conversation where he's talking about, oh yeah, we should team up and do yada yada yada, and Sam's like, you know what, you have all these protocols, we're a little bit more flexible, so it wouldn't make sense for us to work with you. And now all of a sudden he wants to get all tough talking about some, yeah, stay out of my way. I was like, seriously? So we're just gonna forget you got taken out by one hit and then needed a ride back on a Jeep. So, and now all of a sudden you're Mr. Tough Guy. Where was this Mr. Tough Guy on that truck? Stay out of my way. I'm like, okay. He's really getting on my nerves. I already didn't like him. I told you, I'm biased to Steve Rogers. That's my guy, but whatever. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? And if you like what I had to offer, hit that like and subscribe at the bottom. I'm Isaac Lee. This is The Rundown.